So, I have no clue if I should be doing this while something is being rendered in the background, but this video is going to talk about formulas. Now, there's at least maybe 4 or 5 of them that is going to be in this video, or that are going to be in this video. If you want to look at them, you can find the links and the time skip for it in the description. Note that there's going to be some terminology I'm going to use. I advise you guys, if you haven't seen my prior videos, to watch those videos, especially the one that talks about mission badges, and then also if you should go for a Guardian. So this is going to show you the Guardian Soul formula, but this is also going to show you the ones that are pretty much all-rounders and not as bad, and then alternatives depending on if you want to increase your attack. There will be more formulas later depending on demand for more of these things. Just put it down in the comments. But yeah, don't get me wrong, I like using Simulator, but Affixing Assistant can definitely break it down easily, and it can show the ability transfer process. Note that I'm not going to be explaining how to make Guardian Soul, how to make Return of 5, Absolute Glare, all that jazz. Look in the description for those video links. This is going to cover, once again, these formulas, and there will be a future video, once again, highlighting ability transfer and how to go about it, and why you see it in this sort of format over here on Affixing Assistance. Once again, I am a bit biased towards Affixing Assistant, but that cannot really display how you go about ability transfer. It is crucial, important to understand this bit over here. You can technically also break it down like Affix Simulator through here, and you can easily see said breakdown. Now, here's the thing. Let me go over at least the one big formula that allows you to have a bunch of all-rounders. That will be Guardian Soul with Absolute Glare, Etha Factor, Mana Rev, Mark Ongro, Turner 5, and Crack 5. This is the last unit piece that I technically made on the Japanese PSO2. Granted that the S8 wasn't a thing, it was more of the S7. You can tamper around with this, it is up to you to just fiddle with this. But this thing gives a whopping plus 300 SRT attack, plus 27 PP, plus 210 in HP and Dex, plus 220 SRT, and then that SSA. So if I had something like a S7 ability, like how I had on my piece, and it gave attack up, I'll click on that. It's not going to work until I do that. And you can see that it went from that 300 to 345. So then I got to do the entire process, but for now I'm just gonna exit out of that, leave it as it is. But as you can see, to get to here, you would need something like this. You would need a Guardian Soul, Absolute Glare, Return of 5, and Crack 5. You might be wondering, why do you want these 4 abilities, not something else like Ether Factor or what is it, Mana Rev and all that? Is because there are pop items which can safely allow you to go from that 4 slot all the way up to that 8 slot and get everything finalized. However, you will need passes, and this is where hopefully you guys over there in Global have been stocking up on them, because you need a lot of them. If you do a bit of math, and if you plan to do something like this for all 3 unit pieces, not only do you need all the materials to try to go for this, you would also need 3 times the worth of all these passes. So for one of these units, guess what? 100 plus 25, 125. Add 15, 140. Times that by 3 is 420. You need 420 passes in total to make something that is at a 4 slot. Granted that you got all this stuff and slowly upgraded to an 8 slot. You need 420 ability transfer passes. If you do not have 420, then you might be going to some of these benchmarks, these certain thresholds, these certain checkpoints before you go to the 8 slot. But yes, this is what you're doing, and you are ability transferring it. Once again, there will be another video highlighting this sort of thing in game, or I will use a good chunk of footage that I already have to illustrate it once again. This is crucial, this is important to note, because that's how you can get to an 8 slot safely and without having to go through the natural way. Because if you try to make this 8 slot the natural way, it is a giant pain in the butt. It is going to be difficult, and you will have to manipulate a lot of stuff, and it's going to be costly, and I don't know if it's even up on the market, which I already explained in that 8 slot natural video. You can watch that, it's above my head or in the description. It is not a mandatory watch, but it does illustrate, highlight my point. It is possible to do it, but it depends on the abilities, and something like this is a giant pain in the butt. So moving on, let's say you don't want to work with a Guardian Soul. Like, it looks very nice, but you know, you just don't want to try to go for that 8 slot, or maybe you might want to try to stop at a certain number instead. It's all fine and dandy. Or maybe you just want to go for something that's a bit lighter and not heavy like a Guardian Soul, maybe an Astral Soul with all these other abilities. You could do it. Pretty much same formula though when it comes to you trying to get to that 8 slot. However, this has a bit of leeway because instead of working at a 4 slot, you could technically work at a 3 slot and just have these 3. Now, you can tamper around with this and get a different ability. So instead of Absolute Glare, you can go for what, Metra Glare, Shiva Glare, something that is an all-rounder glare. Now, in terms of what this can give, actually, let me cancel that. Let me just hit the add button over here. This is pretty much an all-rounder as well. This is the cheaper one, in a sense, because you're not going for a Guardian Soul. You can technically use 3 pop items to go for this formula, and just try to physically make Absolute Glare, crack 5, and return a 5. Plus 265 in SRT, plus 25 PP, plus 175 in HP, plus 175 in Dex, plus 185 SRT, and then you got your, your SSA. But yeah, you could technically work at a 3 slot, and then slowly build your way up. If you want to go for a 4 slot like this, it is possible. It is up to you. It depends on if you farm for all these, if it's cheap, all that jazz. This is an option though. And, well, I'll illustrate that again at the end of this video. So that is one of them. Now, the other formula I'm going to show right now is pretty much an attack formula that just emphasizes on a certain thing. So this is pretty much an ARM 13-star unit piece that will give you that S7 attack up to. Note that only the ARM piece, the S7 SSA, can give you a grade up to. So, this thing is giving a whopping 355 T-Atk, and S-Attack is giving 200, R-Attack is 170, PP 17, HP 70 along with the Dex, SRT is 50. It's not high like these two over here, but guess what? This is a bit manageable because you can just get some of these things without having to try to go for like Absolute Glare or something. There are a good chunk of pop items over here, but it just depends on if you want to try to finalize it. You can also get an SAF for this Technique 6 if you use a Revelate unit piece, but that is up to you, and it has to be the leg one to get that Technique 6, and you had to get it at a certain slot as well. So if you want to, for this thing, instead of using like a pop item, I think I used pop item over here. Yeah, I think I registered. You could technically have a Revelate leg here, and it's at plus 10, and you got it at a 4 slot with one of these abilities. Guess what? You can easily stop at SAF of that Technique 6. Also, I just remembered as well, I do need to make an update on that. You could physically try to make a grade 6. You just need to combine 3 grade 5 techniques, or casting in NA terms, and you'll be able to have the option to upgrade to a grade 6. Although that is a bit of a pain in the butt, so I would rather use the SAF for that. But yeah, you could do something like this, and then you can slowly build your way up until you get to the 8th slot. However, there might be a certain threshold you would want to stop at, and I'll emphasize on that again later. And then I think this is the last one. Yeah, so this is pretty much the last one actually, where it's like, what is this? This emphasize on... I use emphasize a lot, I just realized that. Anyways, ignoring my spiel, tangent. This thing is pretty much like this one, but instead of having like a whopping 355, it is 310. With an R-Attack, it gives a good chunk of PP, a good chunk of HP, and all these other stats. Big thing, R-Attack, HP. Well, no, R-Attack, PP, a bit of HP. So you can see there's a Grand Shoot, Mana Rev, Doom Break 3, Arcs Max, Metra Glare as a factor to the soul. Now the reason why I go for Metra, Mana Rev and Ether factor is because even though there are other options in terms of the factor abilities and reveries, those are pretty high up there, and I would advocate something that can give you the most. Even though you're not trying to emphasize on all these other stats, what you are trying to get is the most attack types. Now, not only that, this is an option because guess what? You had the mission badge and you have those add abilities, so you could go for this. So if we had to look at this, yes, once again, a lot of pop items, but if I look at the 4 slots, you can see that this thing isn't as bad to work with. You got something like this. Now, you could try to work at it with a 5 slot instead and use a pop item to get, what is it, the ether factor instead. And then you could do ability transfer to get the other pop item like a mana rev, and then you could finalize it like that. So you can either go at this step over here, or you could have fixed this, and then you could, Alright, let's do a quick one. Not an SAF, we don't have that. Let's say you've been farming Doom Breaks. Let's want to gamble. Let's gamble at that, what is 50%? RX Fevers, Metro Glare, you're using this method right here. You can add ability that, and then for that one, it's this. And then you hit confirm, you hit yes, and then it shows you this instead. So it just depends on how you want to go about it. If you want to get the other thing, all you need to do is transplant it and then just select an item, add the factor, decrease the thing, and then you get the thing that I had previously. So this is an option as well, just to go for a 5 slot where it's not as bad in terms of doing that. And this thing in itself can give you what, Doombreak, Arcs Max, Metro Glare, Ether 30, 35, 30, 25, 30, 30, 30, 30, that's 90, 125, 140 attack-ish. Along with some other stats, I think it's more on the PP side too. But yeah, and that's pretty much it with these 4 formulas. 5? I think it's 5. It's actually 5, shit. No, it's actually 4. Never mind. Yeah, so I will have these in the description. Now, what do I mean by stopping at a certain threshold? So as you can see, once again, those passes are crucial to try to go to an 8 slot. You got to use 15 to go from a 4 slot to 5 slot, 25 to go from a 5 slot to a 6 slot, and then 6 slot to an 8 slot, it is a straight up 100. And same can be said with these things. So let's say I'm working with something like this piece over here. I think that's what I have over here. Do I? No. So let's say, for the extreme, let's say you're working on something like this, and you don't have enough to try to go for the final hurdle, where you can get, what is it, the 5 slot, or no, the 6 slot, and then to the 8 slot, and you only have, let's say, it's around 100 passes. What you can do is actually stop over here. Just go from the 4 slot to the 5 slot, and just try to build up on your passes so you can progress forward when you are ready or when you got the materials. So if this is at a 5 slot, guess what? That is pretty good as a 5 slot. Guardian Soul, Absolute Glare, Crack 5, Return 5, and Mark Angra. Now, obviously, you may not want to go for this because, you know, it's a Guardian Soul. And you might want to do something with the one with the Astral Soul instead. So let's see, where do we stop? So you're working with a 3 slot. You can use a couple passes for a 4 slot. This is why Rainbow Keys are so handy. Especially once you get to, well, Rainbow Keys, once you complete it, you get 5 ability transfer passes, which can do easy sort of transfers like this. I'm going to show you how stupid this ability transfer process is from the very get-go, but that's its own separate video. But yeah, so you can go from a 4 slot all the way up to a 5 slot, and then stop there before you go 5 slot to 6 slot with an Absolute Glare, Mana Rev, Crack 5, Return 5, and Mark Angra. Actually, let's go with, actually, yeah, let's stick with that then. What is it? Mana Rev? Mana Rev. So if you put this in here, guess what? That's a whopping 200 SRT attack, 14 PP, 130 HP, 110 Dex, 120 SRT. Not a bunch of giant numbers yet, but at the very least, it is something to work with. It might be better than whatever augments and affixes you have. The goal is to slowly get to that end goal. But there will be cases where you don't have a lot of these passes, and you might just need to stop for now before you venture forward. I would say that I wouldn't pop that Mark Angra just yet. I might want to go for Astral Soul instead, just because if I already have 3 abilities that emphasize heavily on a bunch of stats, I want to try to do that. So instead of a mana rev as well, I might go eta factor. So if I go back over here in this thing, let's say that, actually no, I need that absolute. So if I go for this and then Astral and take out that mana rev, you can see that even though I don't have a lot of attack, guess what? My SRT is high up there along with my HP, PP, Dex, and a good chunk of attack still on SRT. Obviously, slap on a time ability, you can get it higher. But that is it for these formulas and why you might want to do certain approaches. If you want more of these, let me know in the comments. I will most likely make a very special video showing how you can actually do something like this with minimal effort depending on certain approaches, because this is just one of the many ways to actually literally go to something like this. That is it. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.